let's take a moment here just to close down our eyes, and we're just going to guide you on just a little journey here. Let's just shake all that energy, because I'm feeling a lot of energy in my body, which is really awesome. But sometimes it can also mean that there's just so much buzzing in us right now, and we can feel like we're almost at the edge of our window, or there's a lot of insights, there's a lot of things, and we can kind of lose a bit of presence. So let's just take some deep breaths and start to connect to the sensations in your body. Whatever is present within you right now. And it can be helpful to speak these aloud. So we're really here to liberate our self-expression, to speak our truth more, to use our voice, to feel in our power, to feel confident. So as you're noticing these sensations, I invite you to speak them out loud. So what I'm noticing is a little bit of pressure in my forehead. I'm feeling some tingling in my hands. I feel some energy flowing through my hips, my lower back, my lower belly. And as I express that, I notice the energy starts to shift and move up my spine into my heart. And so what I notice is when we start to express what we're feeling, it can actually activate a new sensation. And this is how we can actually move energy and feel more in flow, feel more connected to our body, to our emotions, to our expression, to ourselves. So this in itself is a really, really powerful practice to help you with everything we've just been talking about, to help you to regulate, to help you resource, to help you connect, express. And this could take 2 minutes, it could be 5 minutes, it could be 20 minutes, where you just sit with yourself, breathe, notice and acknowledge your sensations. And so I'm going to guide you through a little process. And I'm going to be bringing in a practice that I use a lot with my clients. And it's my 3 power questions. But I also want to bring in an additional question just to see how powerful our language can be and our inner dialogue, and how it can really shift our experience. So if you think of something, or bring into your awareness something that is maybe challenging for you at this time, or a situation that caused maybe an emotional trigger and was a little overwhelming, something that happened maybe recently, something that happened in the past. And we're just bringing it into our awareness, so we're not going into any stories around it, just something that happened to you. And then asking yourself this question: why is this happening to me? And when you ask that question, why is this happening to me? Notice what happens in your body when you ask that question. Even for me, not even bringing something into my awareness, that question already makes me feel like constricted, like my body's tensing, I'm feeling more constricted. I tend to find that my spine starts to round and my heart starts to close. And there's like this, for me, this like powerless feeling of, why is this happening to me? And it could be a completely different experience for you. And just taking a moment to be with that, to feel that. And then we're going to shift, and with the same experience in our awareness, we're going to ask the question, how is this happening for me? So as I mentioned, when we're emotionally triggered by something, when there's an experience that's arising in our life that is less than desired, but maybe there's a lesson in there, maybe there's an insight or an opportunity to heal and resolve and step more deeply into our power. And so in the moment, it may not feel like this is happening for me, but when we just ask that question, how is this happening for me? Notice what happens in the body without needing to get the answer straight away. What happens in the body? Because for me, it's like all of a sudden my spine straightens and my heart starts to open. I become more curious. I'm not as like drenched in the story of that kind of victim powerlessness of why is it happening to me. It's almost like, how is this happening for me? What can I receive from this? And my whole experience of the same situation transforms. I start to feel more in my power. My breathing expands. It feels much more easier to breathe. You're just noticing any physical or energetic sensations that are here for you. We'll take a moment here. And then just letting all that go. So let's just shake our body out again. And then sharing in the chat, what did it feel like in your body when you were asking the question, why is this happening to me? And how did it feel when you shifted that and asked, how is this happening for me? And if you're listening to the replay, these are questions that you can journal on, that can be shared in our community. And they're really powerful to actually share your answers or write them down to really fully acknowledge what is happening for you. Because a lot of the time, coming back to that feeling of like, we all desire to really be seen, to be heard, to be witnessed, to be validated. And a lot of us didn't experience that growing up. We weren't seen, we weren't heard. There was so much going on. And a lot of us were just in survival mode, living and having parents that were in survival mode. And it's not their fault, it's just what they were experiencing. They also didn't receive that support, those tools that they needed. And this is a really amazing opportunity for you to not only acknowledge yourself, but also to be acknowledged by others. So I'm going to share with you my other two power questions. So the first power question I've shared with you so far is, how is this happening for me? And now we're going to come into the other two. So I invite you to close down your eyes just when you're ready, coming back into your breath. And bringing that same situation back into your awareness that we were just exploring with. And the next question I want to invite you to ask yourself is, what is one thing I can do to change my current situation? And this isn't coming from a place of, I need to change it because my current situation is bad or wrong. It's more about, what is something practical that you can do that will help the situation, that will support the situation to evolve and resolve or move through it. So I'll give you a little example. I shared a experience that I had when I was on tour. We were going from Gisborne to Tauranga in New Zealand, which is usually about a 3-hour drive, or three and a half. And I had checked the previous days to make sure the roads were all open because there were some recent slips, and they were all open. So we took our time in the morning, and then we were leaving about 12, which would give us plenty of time to get to our workshop, which was at 6:30. And then all of a sudden I put it in the maps and it was saying 6 hours. So it's 12 o'clock, 6-hour drive, and our workshop's at 6:30. I still have to pick up the key, which the place closes at like 4 to pick up the key. And I'm having a little bit of a like moment where it's like, okay, this could be really triggering. This could be really overwhelming. And usually I would just like be completely triggered by something like this. But in this moment, it was almost like I kind of caught myself in that moment of like, all right, there's a bit of a freak out happening here, like, but at the end of the day, we have to go. We have to take the new route, which is like a 6-hour route. And I just have to trust that we're going to make it on time. And it was like, okay, how is this happening for me? I asked that question, and in that moment, I kind of asked it and then I released it. And my next question is, okay, what is one thing I can do to really support this situation? And what I was able to do was like I called the place that we were doing the workshop at, and I told them the situation, and I emailed all the participants and I asked if anyone was able to pick up the key for us. And I just let them know what the situation was. So they were really the practical things that I could do in that situation. And then the other thing was just to drive and just to kind of do my best to regulate myself to stay resourced. But that's what I'm asking here is, what is one thing, practical thing that you could do that will support yourself in this? So another example would be, if it's like you've got so much stuff on at work and you're feeling that overwhelmed, the to-do list, you don't have enough time. And it's like we talked about having that breather. So right now I could just put everything to the side for 5 minutes, do a little breathing, a little meditation, and brainstorm some options that will help me work more effectively. Could I ask for someone for help? Could I delegate some of the things that I'm working on? What is actually a priority and what's not a priority? So could I split what is most priority right now and just focus on those 1 or 2 or 3 things rather than looking at a list of 100 things, and we can put the rest to the side. So what's the practical thing that you can do? And we'll take a few moments here just to be with that. And as these answers come through, just notice how you feel in your body asking yourself that question, even if you're not too sure what the practical steps are at this point. Just noticing how that question makes you feel, because it's like, for me, it's almost like coming into the present. Like I feel so much more grounded, and just like there's a strength within me of like, wow, I can actually take my power back in this situation, rather than getting kind of wrapped up in the trigger and the stress. I can actually be like, well, what can I do? And again, it's triggering the curiosity of like, what are some things that I could do to support the situation? And then what happens is we activate a different part of the brain of creativity, of curiosity, of innovation, of really opening the mind to realize that there are infinite options and things that we can do. And there is a sense of taking our power back here. That's what I feel. Just in noticing what you feel. Maybe it feels the opposite, and that's okay too. Noticing any physical sensations in the body. And we're just going to shake that off. And just know that there will be the replay of this, so you can always go back through this if you want to explore a little bit deeper and have a little bit more time with this. We're going to shift into the third question now. So you can stay with your eyes closed, stay with your breath. And the third question is, what do I need to support myself through this? So we've just focused on what can we do for the practical situation. And I like to do this one second, because then what I find is if we can have some practical solutions, it creates a sense of calm and relaxation and ease in our body of like, I have a plan, I have some ideas, I have some options, and it can actually really support the regulation. And then when we come into what do I need to support myself through this, we feel more open to that. Because if we were to do that one first, often it's like, well, I don't have time to do the thing that I need for me. I've got to do all these other things, because there's this sense of obligation, responsibility, and a little bit of stress when we don't have the answers or the practical steps. So then once we've got that laid out, it's what do I need to support myself through this? And so notice what comes up for you in this question and how you feel in your body. To give you an example, coming back to my experience when I was driving to Tauranga and we had to take that detour, when I asked this question, I was like, well, I feel like I need to meditate. I feel like I need to be with the sensations and the experience and the emotions. And so being in the car for 6 hours, I definitely had time for that. And so I just allowed myself space to just go into a deep meditation and just breathe. And I found that so supportive, and I was able to regulate. And it was really powerful that this was one of the experiences I had that I shared with you, where we all of a sudden started to, on the maps, it started to make it later, and it looked like we were going to arrive at 6:30. So it went from 6 arrival time to 6:30. And it started to bring up some of those triggers again. And I just gave to myself what I needed, that meditation, resourcing myself, trusting. And all of a sudden, the map started to go back in time. So all of a sudden it was 6:10 arrival, and then 6, and then 5:50, and we ended up arriving at 5:40. So when we can actually support ourselves, you'll find that it actually creates a very different experience, a very different reality. You feel more resourced, relaxed, you can be more effective. But often we think that we don't have time to do the thing we need. Maybe we feel guilty. But this will actually help you show up as your full self and be the best version of yourself by filling up your cup. So just noticing any sensations in your body as you ask this question, what do I need to support myself through this? And allow yourself to receive that. Allow yourself to be supported. Remind yourself that you deserve to be supported. You deserve to be taken care of. And then just gently coming back when you're ready, sharing in the chat your experience of those two questions.